Around and around we go. Where do we go? Nobody knows, except I do. Today, we're going to talk about how to start your travel research journey and the ways you can go abroad. The ways that you can go abroad, when I talk about it, would be congruent to how you can get your visa application for those who want to go long term and the visa requirements for those who want to go short term. All right, now let's get started. Part one, where to start and to go. This being the age of the internet, it's very easy to find videos on different places to go across the country, across the world. It's very easy to get swept away into what we see on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube to persuade you to think that is the place that you want to go. However, they don't show you the behind the scenes and you don't really get to see their character, which means what do they value? What did they want out of their trip? What were their goals coming on the trip? And those goals might not align with what you have in mind for your trip. What type of values do you have? What are your ethics? What values do you live by? They're all going to be different from the person that's in front of the screen or behind the screen. So you can use the internet to get inspiration, and then to further your research, you can use the CAW method. So it's spelled CAW, and the acronym stands for capability, affordability, and wants. I'll first start off with the C, capability. And the question you would ask yourself is, can I go? And the question might seem easy, just like, yeah, I can get there, I can go. It's a simple question at face value that has a bit more nuance when you talk in depth about it. So can I go have three aspects to it. First one is legal aspects. The second one is physicality and mentality. And the third one is culture, spirituality, ethics, and values. Capability, legality wise, means can you legally go? This question means does your destination have a ban on your country, or does your country have a ban on the destination? This matters because if there is a ban placed either way, airlines would not travel there. People can find other ways to get to said country, such as boat rides, going from a middle country to go to the in destination country. But the point is, for it to be safe, I would say don't try to find reach arounds. If your country says no, then no. And if the destination says no, then it's no. You can't legally go. When it comes to capability in the aspect of physicality and mentality, this just means are you physically and mentally safe or sound enough to be able to travel throughout that country? Some countries are a lot more hills, there's not a lot of roads. So if you can't handle the walking aspect of it, or you can't necessarily handle the foods or the allergens, etc., this should indicate that you can't go or you shouldn't go. This section also includes medication. So certain medications are banned in different countries, and some of which are important to people, such as Adderall medication, anxiety medication. If you're the type that participate in marijuana, that also is a prohibited substance. If those are things that you need, I'm going to tell you you can't go there. Even though you can try to reason yourself, maybe be like, oh, don't take my medication for a few days and I'll be fine. Your safety is the most important thing. Your health is priority. I don't want you to try that. And most importantly, I won't promote that. I'm saying all of these things so you can have a safe and fun journey. Those two need to be together. Now, the last aspect of capability is culture, spirituality, ethics, and values. Depending on if you're a religious person or not, there are things that you feel are a must, a requirement, and certain countries will allow that, and other countries will not. If you're the type that is more into kosher, you don't like certain foods in your system, depending on the country that you decide to go to, they may not adjust to that. There are countries that have pork in almost everything that they eat, and if you're like, I can't have pork, I'd rather starve, then I would say you can't go there because most likely you're going to starve because it'll be embedded into different aspects that you think pork would not be involved in. This also applies to people who are much more eco-friendly and they don't want to promote or support certain traits that come from these countries. Then I would say you can't go because the country isn't going to change its ways overnight, nor will their value system and ethics change just because you landed in the country. To me, you wouldn't want to put money in their pockets anyway, so just find another destination to go to. Now we are on to the A aspect, affordability. That means, can you afford to go? Not necessarily do you have the money to get yourself a room and the flight there. To me, I take affordability as, do you have enough assets or money that you can have a safe trip? This means being able to eat consistently. I say you need to have at least 2 meals a day, have a safe place to lay your head for all of your duration of the trip, money to get yourself comfortably around the city and to and from your accommodation to your airline, train line, port, etc. And possibly having some emergency funds so that way if anything was to happen and you would need to stay due to safety reasons, that you can do so. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to get the 5-star hotel for all your trip and then maybe having some emergency fund to stay at the same type of hotel. It just means you have enough that if you need to stay an extra night, that you have the funds to do so and to be able to eat. If you have any more money, I would recommend getting travel insurance. I feel this way because when you are traveling, your goal is to not be in survival mode. You're meant to thrive and enjoy and to basically treat yourself. What type of treat is it if you're putting your body and your mind in survival mode because you can't afford a meal for the day or you can't afford to stay somewhere that you know is safe? To me, it doesn't make sense. So I would say if you can't really afford it, don't go there. When it comes to budgeting for it, I say you can take out a loan, but make sure it's not more than you can chew. I would say if you're going to budget it out, no more than 15% of your check that you get at whatever basis that you get it, because that way you're able to recoup your costs at an easier pace, and it does allow for any other emergencies that come throughout life to not put you in such a pickle. If you are coming to live in the said destination, I would also recommend no more than 10% of your savings that you have, and also no more than 10% of your new salary. Because in the same way that it would apply in your home country, I would apply that same logic abroad, but you would have to adjust based on the conversion rate. And the final letter, which would end the CAW acronym, is wants. And that is just asking, what do you want out of this trip? Is this trip supposed to be a quiet, relaxing trip? Is this a trip for you to get back to being one with nature? Is this a party trip and you just want to have fun for the whole thing? Is it a research trip? What is it that you want out of it? And whatever it is that you want, you would need to research whether or not that country has it. If your country passes the CAW method, man, I say put that on the list. Now that you have used the CAW method to screen out which destinations you want, you're now able to decide on how you want to get to that said destination and the purpose for you traveling there. So, are you traveling for vacation? Are you traveling to study or intern? Are you traveling to work there? Or are you traveling to create a business? Each one of those require different paperwork and a different visa process. Let's begin. The easiest version is the tourist visa. With a tourist visa, basically you're telling them you're going to be there only for a certain amount of time, no more than 90 days at a time. Is the easiest visa to get. It has the least amount of requirements just because they're not expecting you to stay long term. If you stay long term, you got to go through a whole different visa process. The pros of traveling are that you have everything you want. It's the most flexible option. There's no deadline for it. So typically once you enter the country or you filled out the paperwork for your tourist visa, depending on your destination, you're able to come in pretty much just like that. As long as there's not a fee for it, the fees that would be paid on a tourist visa will be significantly less than any of the other visas involved. Studying and interning abroad is a unique type of situation because this opportunity that I'm talking about could be done on a tourist visa, or if you have the right company, they can get you onto a long-term visa. It depends on who the school is or who that company is and how you are connected to the said destination. I would say if you're paying for your intern or your study abroad out of your pocket with no government assistance or scholarships, or without maybe your undergraduate program or high school program supporting you, you might encounter companies that are going to try to circumvent you trying to have a long-term visa by saying that, okay, you'll do 90 days here, then you need to go off for like 2 weeks to another area, then you could come back and then we could continue your education. The reason why they're saying that is because if they know, they say, yeah, you can come here, you can do the whole 180 days here, but they're not going to help you with the visa paperwork and or they're not approved by the government to have long-term residents here, then you're going to be in trouble because you're going to break the rules. And then this company might get fined or shut down because they knowingly are holding you past your tourist visa date. I say if you see a company doing that, don't go with them. I say go with the ones that are willing to help you actually have it because they're more credible. They went through all the government paperwork. They have to have their own certification. With that disclaimer out of the way, I will kind of get into the pros of it. Pros is that you can stay in a country a long time. You can stay up for like a year. There might be a renewal process, but pretty much easy to get into. You also have better networking and support systems because most of the people that come are also going to be in a similar situation as yourself. You can make more international friends. You're willing to meet more people that are local that just want to interact with foreigners. So to me, it's a better time to be had. And there are grants and scholarships like the Benjamin Gilman Scholarship. You have Fulbright. You have Bonners. You had the NSLIY for high school. You had the CLS for college students. And those scholarships can give you enough money that you wouldn't have to pay out of your pocket. The downside to those are you do have less free time. It's not like a travel. You're going to have more structure. You're going to have to maintain grades or your work grade if you're interning abroad. This will cost more money if you are paying for everything out of pocket and you can't make money. So when you're under a student visa, I would say 9 times out of 10, you need special permission from the government to be allowed to work in that said country. Majority of people do not meet that criteria, and because of that, you're not going to be legally allowed to work. Now, do people offer under the hand opportunities? Yes. I've seen them firsthand. If you are caught, you can be kicked out of the country. Legal paperwork is a lot more than a tourist visa. So if you're going based on an exchange program, you have to have a letter saying that you have financial support. You have to show them through paperwork and documentation that you have the money to support yourself. You also need the destination schools to send an approval talking about, hey, we are a legit business. We are verified. They can come here and they will be studying under us. You then need to send that to the embassy. The embassy will have to confirm all of the information to be correct, and then they will give you a visa in your passport. So you have to send all of that and your passport to make sure that it is verified. It's a lot longer, but I mean, you can make a lot more memories. It gives you a lot more time to be in the country to figure out whether or not you want to continue on your endeavors there. The step above studying and interning, however, is working abroad, and that just means you are either employed by a parent company that is requiring you to work in a destination country, or you're directly hired into the destination country. And these forms can be taken in short-term contracts, internships, and permanent employment. These jobs can vary. It can be having an engineering job. You could work for a multinational corporation. You could do seasonal work. You could be a translator, interpreter, a consultant, or a common one is just being an English teacher in the said foreign country. So the pros to that are that most companies will help you, so you're not doing the visa process alone, because they have to verify that they're going to financially support you. And as a result, it's less financial stress on you. And they have stipends sometimes to help you relocate. They also give cultural trainings, relocation assistance in the form of moving companies, apartment searching, phone number making. However, the downsides are that your visa is tied to your job. You could find a new job, but the new job would have to be able to fill out the visa paperwork for you. If you're teaching abroad, a good portion of your visa is tied to the fact that you are employed at that company. So it is stated that once you're unemployed at that company, your visa is no longer valid, and or you need to file an extension to search for another job so that way you can find someone who can support you on the visa. Long story short, if you don't have another backup plan, you're tied to your company. There also is a point of, even though you're making money in the destination country, in the US, you might be required to pay taxes on that, depending on how much you have in your accounts, how much you are being paid. If you were still living in the US at that point in time, you might have to pay taxes. Once you have to pay taxes, that could affect your paycheck and your living situation abroad, even though you're not living back home. And the last con is that you have to be very careful because these jobs are in high demand. There is a habit, and it is common, that there are companies that will try to go under the radar, get you into the country illegally without you filling out any visa paperwork. So you can get paid, but you're only going to get paid what they want you to. If a company is telling you, oh, we'll figure out your visa process once you get here, they're most likely trying to scam you and exploit you, because that's not how the visa process works. If you come here on a tourist visa, you cannot work. If you come here on a student visa and you do not have permission to work, you cannot work. If they're like, get here on a tourist visa and come, don't do it. You can look on the internet, look at different YouTube videos, how people were giving their personal experiences on how the company was withholding their funds. They made sure their housing wasn't up to par just because they are tied to this company because they're here illegally. Please don't make that mistake. The last way you can enter into a country is by being an entrepreneur or a startup business. This just means that you're going to create your business in the said destination. Is it possible? Yes. New visas come up each and every day. Well, not each and every day, but they do come up. Digital nomad is considered an entrepreneur visa. Social influencing will also be considered an entrepreneur visa and or a startup business visa. So it is possible for you to get one. However, the requirements in which you must be able to meet to get said visa is a lot higher. And with the fact that social media influencers have been getting bad reps and have been being involved in a lot of scandals, it makes countries increase the requirements each and every other year. So you have to meet an income requirement, which means you have to prove via bank statements that you have a certain amount of funds before you're able to move here. You actually have a legitimate business or you're planning to make one. I don't know if they require a business plan or not. but it is a requirement. They're going to do, I think, hand printing. You have to go through different government involvement to get yourself that, on top of you being able to meet the financial stand-hold. This option is going to be the most expensive option because there are no grants to help you. And then on top of you paying for all of that for yourself, you also have to pay for the business. And if you're trying to start a business here that's also in the US, you have to figure out all the legal requirements to maintain that company in home country and destination country. It's a lot. You can plan it. I know somebody who's in the process of it. And that's the end of this episode. So I'll see you around.